Welcome back. We're having a conversation here at Boom and Bust with Francis Bradley. He is the CEO and president of Electricity Canada. I said we were going to get back after the break to kind of where we stand with the build out we need to do for our grid or grids plural in this country. One aspect of it has to be attracting the necessary, I would say, private sector investment. You mentioned the long tail it takes to get a permit and that kind of thing. So I understand that aspect of it. What other impediments are there to getting the appropriate and necessary investment?
Yeah, so I'd suggest there's kind of two major areas that we need to address. One we talked already about, and that is just the challenges of getting things built, and that is not a small impediment. That is definitely a challenge that we have to get through. And the other thing is depending upon the type of investment, if we're talking about transmission distribution down at the customer end, in most jurisdictions in this country, that is fully regulated, and there's a regulator that determines what proceeds, what goes forward, what goes into rate base, and the pace that investments take at the sort of the downstream end of things. The problem is that the regulatory constructs that we have right now were not built for a world of massive electrification or conversations around net zero or extreme weather, because essentially the system was established in the early 1960s in terms of how we rate regulate transmission and distribution. It's not just here, but it's everywhere else. So we follow a system that was established, more than 60 years ago.
Right.
And 60 years ago, no one was talking about net zero or electrification, decarbonization, or extreme weather. And so we need not just an approvals process that makes it easier to get things built. We also need to figure out how we can more efficiently regulate on the rate base, and understand how we can make that more efficient and recognize the realities within which we live. And let me give you one more,
Sure.
and that is, as you noted, we want to bring some private sector investment. We want to bring crown investment into this space. But there is a part and a place for governments to play in this.
Right. I was
Um,
going to
you know,
ask you about
this
that. What you talked about regulation, that's obviously part of it, but expand a little
Absolutely,
bit, expand a little bit on what else government needs to do.
absolutely. So when we're talking about regulation, that's the stick. What about the carrot? And the carrot would be things like investment tax credits. If there are certain outcomes that we want to achieve, we should be looking at ways that we're providing incentives to move in that way. And so the previous government had introduced a number of investment tax credits in the clean energy space, but they didn't get all of them through the legislative process. So, for example, the clean electricity investment tax credit was still pending, moving through the approval process and in place. So that one isn't in place today.
Mhm.
There's also things that the government can do in terms of providing assistance and funding to groups that need to be part of this conversation and need to be part of this space, like Indigenous loan guarantees. And we've seen an expansion of the Indigenous loan guarantees program. That was certainly overdue, because as a number of my colleagues in that space will always tell me, our energy future runs through First Nations land, and
100%.
so
Yeah.
they need to be full partners on this. And so there's a role that governments can play to be able to incent that side of it as well. So the carrots aren't just for industry. The carrots are going to be for communities. The carrots are going to be for First Nations. The carrots are going to be for a variety of people that we want to make sure are full partners in that energy future.
So is your organization of Electricity Canada involved in those Indigenous discussions as well as your members?
No, these are nation to nation things,
Yeah.
but we're involved as our national associations in the Indigenous space.
Gotcha.
We're involved with them. Our members on a project by project basis are involved with the individual nations. So we'll, for example, work closely with the First Nations Power Authority and the First Nations Major Projects Coalition and other national organizations in terms of but seeking policy solutions and looking at how we can support the kind of things that they want to bring forward to be able to make this happen.
Very interesting. I appreciate you giving that information to our audience as well. Francis, we're going to take another brief break for a commercial, but we'll be back with you after that for more discussion. Please stay with us.